Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. First thing first, don't adjust your screens, nothing is broken. It's not a black screen of doom. I just decided that I wanted to do something a bit different this week. I just reached 40,000 on YouTube, which I'm really happy about. Thank you so much. And I thought that I would just share my thoughts and feelings with you a tiny bit, because I don't really do it that often. And I think some of you find it pretty helpful to just kind of have a different perspective and, look on things and how things work from somebody who's been in the industry for a while. So today I'd like to talk to you about why it's important to fail in order to succeed. And it seems like such a funny concept, but I feel like the more and more photography I do and the deeper I get into the industry, I see that being able to deal with failure and how you handle failure will basically make you or break you as a photographer. And I wish, I could say that it's an over-exaggeration, but it really isn't. It's such an important trait to have. I think it's more important than, having the actual skill of photography, anything. I think it's just the persistence and how you deal with failure is what is going to make you succeed in your journey. I feel like there has been so many photographers that have been really, really, really good, and then for some reason, either self-doubt or, rejection, they just couldn't handle it anymore, and they just lost the passion for photography, and they just hated their work, and they just weren't really happy with, how everything went, and they just ditched photography, or they, found a full-time job or whatever, because it just wasn't going great, the money wasn't great, and you have to understand that we nowadays in the world of Instagram, we're living in such a heavily saturated market of influencers and Instagram photographers, and everybody has a camera. You can grab your iPhone and take amazing photos. Like I see people who do that. In best example, if you look at bloggers, a lot of them actually shoot on iPhone, and they get their boyfriends or Insta husbands to take photos for them, but they are really able to create an amazing content just on their cell phone. There's a huge need for photos still, but I just feel like the market has gotten so much more saturated with the availability of the cameras. So because there's so many photographers and so many, social media people, it's much harder to get noticed, and there's just so much choice on the market in general that I find, agencies are just not dependent on photographers anymore to get good photos, because all the models will take amazing selfies, and that's what's going to get them the jobs, because that's what's going to get them the following. So for you to be able to test with girls and all this kind of stuff, you really have to have an A-class portfolio. And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong, where they get really frustrated because they go into the model agencies and they request models, and it's just not really going anywhere because they don't really get any replies. They get really frustrated, or they get rejected constantly, and that's how it kind of ends. They just ditch everything and they're like, whatever. And I totally understand it. It's really frustrating. As you guys know, I travel a lot, and because I travel a lot, let's start with saying that I travel a lot just because I live in Ireland, and I don't think there's that many opportunities in Ireland for anybody who's interested in photography. And I've known it for a while. The industry here has been very steadily declining. There's less and less budgets. There's more and more, demand for high quality photos for very little money. The magazines are dying because nobody's reading them anymore, and it's just slowly disintegrating into nothing. Saying that, I just feel, because I live here, I need to outsource my opportunities, because if I was stuck in Ireland, I probably wouldn't be able to create half the content I'm creating. It's only because I travel to Cape Town and all the other places, and don't get me wrong, it's really expensive to travel, and I have no savings, and I live day to day pretty much because any money I have goes into travel. But that's, that's another topic for another day. My point is that because I travel a lot and because I base my work on traveling abroad, I usually don't have a lot of time to make connections with agencies. And it's really hard because a lot of the time you have to work with the agency once or twice, and they have to kind of have a trust in you to give you some sort of a decent girl, because other than that, all the agencies are always going to push the newest faces onto you, and it's great to start with, but once you are an experienced photographer, you really don't want to be stuck in the limbo of constantly having to shoot with completely new faces that have no idea what they're doing. So here comes the problem. When I travel, I usually go for quite short periods of time, maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks. Sometimes, as I went to Cape Town, I was there for 2 months. That's a bit of a different situation, but in general, it's a much shorter period of time, which means because it's such a short period of time, I am not able to make the connections and build the relationship that I would like to build. So I'm pretty much, wherever I go, I start from zero. The only advantage that I have is possibly my social media, but it's still very irrelevant in today's world. Having 30 or 40,000 followers is really, really little in the grand scheme of things when you think about accounts that have, I think 100, 200,000 followers and so on. It's just, for the agencies, it doesn't matter if you have, 20, 30, 40. I think maybe if you have 70, 80,000, maybe it kind of changes a bit, but before that, it just really doesn't matter for them. So every single time I go, even especially the likes of London, I find London to be a very difficult industry because my photos are way more commercial than they usually like. I find London to be very high fashion and very, kind of effortless and chic and all this kind of stuff. So I find I always have trouble getting the models I want in London. Just as I said, because my social leverage is not big enough, and I don't have the portfolio that they're necessarily looking for. I get rejected a lot, and I feel like dealing with rejection is always going to be something that I'm going to find really, really difficult, because when you start out, it's a bit different. Everybody rejects you because you maybe have work that maybe isn't up to standard, or maybe you go too heavy with retouching like I did, and there's so many things that you're doing wrong. But then I think once you take your time to perfect your craft and to work on it for so long, and you still end up getting rejected over and over and over, it's just such a horribly frustrating feeling. And I feel like, especially as I said, going to London, it's always such a funny situation because I always end up starting from absolute zero, where I get offered either the super new faces, girls that have very little portfolio, or I just don't get any replies at all. And it's just, there's something about the way you think about it and you handle it. Because I find when I was first messaging and I wasn't really getting the replies I was hoping for, and I wasn't really getting the feedback I was hoping for, I would get really, really frustrated, and I would be like, screw it, I'm not going, I don't care, it's just like, why am I even bothering? Why am I even trying if nobody really cares, and nobody really likes what I'm doing? But I think it's all about your change in perception, and it's something that I'm still working on, and I'm still having to think through, kind of, I need to be able to stop myself and be like, no, stop, just rewire yourself. And that's what it is about, I think, rewiring yourself. I have to stop and tell myself, it's not about all the failures and all the people that reject you. It's about all the people that accept you and that, give you models or give you jobs or whatever it is. And this way it kind of helps you deal with all the failures. So let's say, I'm going to London, I can't get any decent models. I get, agencies rejecting me left, right, and center, but then I always have an agency or 2 or 3 that will get back to me with nice models. So instead of fretting over the 20 agencies that didn't get back to me or didn't give me the models I want, I concentrate on the 2 or 3 that gave me nice models that I can work with and, maybe create something really cool. And I think once you work on something nice with one of the agencies, the other ones see it, and it creates kind of like a domino effect where people are like, oh yeah, sure, test their models or whatever. So I think it's the same with everything. If you're, let's say, you're doing a commercial job and for some reason it goes wrong, and either you hate the photos or the client hates the photos or whatever the situation is, I think it's very important to, instead of concentrating, on the fact that you failed, that you didn't like the images, that they are, crap or whatever, concentrate on the fact that you got the job in the first place because they loved your portfolio. And even if the photos didn't work out this time, it's only an opportunity to learn for you. And, look at those photos, ask around, ask people, maybe that have a bit more experience than you, maybe, a bit more knowledge. Ask them what do they think about the photos, what could be changed, could something be adjusted, could something be done better. And this way, the only way it can go for you is to grow. We all learn from our mistakes. We've all had mistakes. I can guarantee you every single photographer that you admire had multiple shoots where they hated the images. They never posted a single one of them because they were like, no, they hate it. I've had so many images that I hated. It's just, especially if I feel like my studio work, it is such a struggle with my studio work, just trying to get it right and trying to work out the light. And for such a long time, I just didn't really understand the concept of studio, and how do I light the model properly and how do I get the exposures I want. And I still find it really challenging. I love doing studio for beauty because it's a very simple setup and it's a very straightforward kind of setup. But even with that, there are some days where I just can't get anything right, and it's just such a frustrating experience. It's so easy to get caught up in those little things that go wrong. I find, especially if you have, a mix of things going on in your life, maybe some personal problems and then, maybe like a few work problems, like you didn't get the shot you want or somebody wrote you a mean comment. It can really be the straw that broke the camel's back. And I find sometimes, things that wouldn't usually bother me at all, like a silly YouTube comment where somebody says, your work is shit, or I don't know, just something that is a very unconstructive criticism where they're like, yeah, it's stupid, I hate the model, or I hate something. Usually I would just disregard it and just, kind of move on with my life because I don't really care. Or it's not that I don't care, that's the wrong way to say it. I do care about how people perceive my images. I would be lying if I said I didn't. I think all of us do. And, being on social media and being online in general, it's all about how people perceive you and, the validation with the likes and everything. It's definitely such a massive thing of being a photographer now. It's not just you and your work. It's you, your work, and however much followers you have and how many, however many likes you have. And let's admit it, sometimes you have a photo that you don't really like and you put it online and it does great and it changes your perception a bit. So, but I think it's more about the fact that I usually wouldn't be bothered by certain comments or certain things that people say, about my work or whatever, because I know that sometimes in general they are constructive, things that people say about my images, but a lot of the time it's just people getting frustrated and worked up, maybe because their own work isn't doing great, or maybe they're not getting the work that they want, and they kind of take it out on others. They, end up saying shitty things about your work just to make themselves feel better about theirs. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's not that they're bad people. It's just that's the way they deal with stuff. And that's the way I kind of think to it myself. But when you have days where everything goes wrong and everything just kind of, doesn't seem to be going your way, it's just those tiny little things that can really push you over the edge and you literally lose it. And I had those days where I was absolutely triggered by a comment, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I hate everybody, I hate social media, I hate my life, I hate my work. And it happens on a regular basis. I think in this conversation today with you, I just want to tell you that it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to feel really bad about your work, because we all do from time to time. I just think it's about letting certain things go and accepting certain things that you can't change. I always try to grow in my photography and my images, and the way I take photos. And if I let's say do a shoot and I would think that it's not as good as the previous one I did, I would get really upset, because it feels like I'm going backwards. And especially because I would be testing quite a lot, where I put my own time, money and effort into it. I film stuff for you guys on YouTube. I just feel like it's a great waste if I don't do something up to my standard. And I feel like in my head, the standard for myself, it is actually way higher than people's standard for me. And I think it's like that for everybody, at least for everybody that I know that are artists. I have so many friends who hate their work. And I think if they listen to it, they will know that I'm talking about them, because I am. They absolutely hate their work, and they are so amazing. And when I look at their work, I'm so jealous a lot of the time, where I'm like, I would really love to shoot like you, and I would really love to work like you, and have jobs like you. But in your head, the jobs that you're getting, and the money that you're getting, and everything, and the shots that you're getting are useless, and you hate it. And it's probably the same about me. Or there's probably somebody there who is like, oh, I wish I had her jobs, or I wish I was traveling places and stuff. Because I think it's easy to think of, or put other people on pedestals while putting yourselves down. I think there's always going to be this little voice in my head that is going to be like, you're useless, oh, I hate your work. But it's just like, I have this thing, especially with fashion, where I'm like, I really don't like the way I shoot fashion. I feel like I'm very commercial. That's why I kind of like swimwear and beauty, because they are more commercial and I feel way more comfortable in it. Maybe because I started on Photoblog and I was never really, kind of like a high fashion person. Like sometimes I look at certain photographers and I'm like, wow, they really think outside the box. And I have this kind of box rigged into my brain, and I can't really go past it. And I get so frustrated and so worked up, and I just wish I could do things better and think of better shots. And sometimes, especially if I collaborate with other creators, and let's say we shoot the same model, and I see the way they shoot the model, it makes me so annoyed, because I'm like, oh, I want to shoot like them. But I'm not the same person. Like, I'm not them, and I think in my own way. But then I know I've spoken to a few people where I took the photos and they were like, oh, I wish I would take photos like like this. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to do more your style and you're trying to do more my style. So as I said, failure is just something that is going to be present in your everyday life. And especially if you are going to be a successful photographer, you will get rejected over and over and over and over and over and over. I could go forever. I could really go forever. There are going to be brands that reject you. There's going to be people that hate your work. There's going to be people that are openly going to say that they hate your work. There is going to be, model agencies that are not going to want to work with you, and so on. And I think it's just about embracing it, saying, I don't care, I still want to do it. And I think that's the kind of point where you just have to sit down and ask yourself, are you doing things for you, or are you doing it for other people? Because I feel like if you're doing things for other people and you get constantly rejected, you are going to hate it and leave it very quickly. But if you're doing stuff because you love it and because you want to do it, it's going to be much easier to brush the rejection off and keep going regardless. Because for me, it doesn't matter how many times I get rejected, I have a clear idea of the goal in my head of what I want to achieve and where I want to get as a photographer and as a person, and I just go at it no matter what. I get rejected, I get upset about it, I cry it out, or I talk to my friends about it or whatever, and then I just move on and I just go back to doing the same thing. Because keep in mind that out of the 100 people, maybe 10 are not going to like your work, but the 90% will. So it's just about rewiring your brain, working for yourself and not for others, and understanding that rejection is the natural part of the process. And by being rejected, I really believe that it's a weird thing. I don't really believe, well, actually no, I do actually believe in destiny. I think that's the only, I'm not a very religious person. I don't really have many strong beliefs, I guess, but I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and that if something is meant to be, it is going to happen, and if it's not meant to be, it just wasn't meant to be for you. And as hard as it is for you to think that, I've had moments where I was like, listen to yourself, it was not meant to be. You didn't get the job or you didn't get the model, it's fine, it's okay, it happens. But at the moment I'm just so fixated on it, and I'm just so annoyed and so upset, and I'm just like, shut up, I just don't want to listen to it. Just shove it, just shove your smart ass comment somewhere. But then let's say a month or two later, something happens that is directly related to the thing that didn't happen, but it's something better. I mean, it's not always the case, obviously, but a lot of the time it really is. And you can see those connections and your mind gets blown, where you're like, wow, maybe it was really not meant to be, because if that thing happened, maybe this one wouldn't have, So I know it's frustrating. I know it's very hard, just doing what you're doing every day, trying to be your best and, push yourself creatively and edit all those photos. But believe me, if you are persistent and consistent enough, and you don't get, failure to get into your head, you are 100% going to succeed. And, that's a very bold statement. Don't hold it on me. Don't sue me. Please don't sue me if something goes wrong. But I really do believe that it's not that much about your talent as a photographer. And again, it's a bold statement, but I feel like, yes, talent is extremely important. It makes your work better quicker. It makes your life better quicker. But at the same time, it's as much about determination and dealing with failure and, dealing with those things in life that sometimes go wrong. And, sometimes it will, and you just have to get on with it. You can't let it hurt you. Unless there is a lawsuit somewhere waiting for you and you're going to go to prison, you're going to be fine, Just don't delete anybody's wedding photos, please, because that's a nightmare. You don't want to do that. And back up your drives, because if the drive dies, that's a huge failure. That's a huge screw up. It happened to me as well. So just don't do that. But in general, everything can be fixed. Everything can be changed. If you don't like the path you're going, you're not happy with it, try and change small things. See if there is anything you can adjust for yourself. If you can maybe go a different route, maybe try something different, maybe try a different type of photography. For me, this is kind of realization that maybe fashion photography isn't 100% for me. Maybe I want to do a mix of, don't get me wrong, I still love fashion photography. I still like the way some photos look, but I find in general it's much easier for me, and it's much more natural for me to take swimwear photos or beauty shoots, it comes to me more natural, where I don't feel frustrated and I don't feel tired and drained at the end of the day taking the photos. So I'm in no way, shape or form saying that I'm going to ditch, fashion photography, but I'm just saying that sometimes it is about finding your true calling, because maybe, just maybe, that constant failure is trying to tell you something and is trying to direct your life on a certain path. And I really do believe that. I think it's just taking, it's about taking it easy, not letting it get to you as much as it's difficult. I had a few blatant rejections in my life where I was like, wow, this is such a bad rejection. I'm so hurt. But at the same time, you just have to keep playing the game. Just, try and make your photos stronger, try and kick ass, so the next time they are going to contact you and ask for shoots or whatever, hopefully. So maybe next time. Anyway, I think that's it from me, guys, for today. If you're still here, thank you for sticking around. It's been almost a 30-minute journey. I hope you enjoyed my little chat, my little rambling. I hope it wasn't too rambly. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know if you enjoy listening to my sleepy voice, and what would you like for me to talk about. I will be looking for topics because I love talking about anything and everything. So it's a perfect solution for me. So yeah, let me know if you have any topic suggestions that you would like for me to chat about. Just have a very open, relaxed chat that is unedited, just me talking a bunch of crap for a while. If you did like this video, as usual, please give it a thumbs up so I know that I can make more of it. Subscribe to my channel. I'm on 40,000 now. I would love to reach 100,000 so I can have more leverage with the agencies, next time I go to London so they reply to me. And I will see you in the next video.